Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
We're going to announce this is the beginning of our Patriots of Act 746 segment, brought to you by the great Patriots of Act 746. Welcome to the program, Mr. Wayne Helms of Patriots of Act 746. Wayne, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm glad to have you on. So, first of all, I just want to remind everybody, Patriots of Act 746, the organization's goal is to educate folks on the status of constitutional carry in the state of Arkansas, our gun rights, the individual's gun rights here in Arkansas, and I really appreciate what you guys do. How did you get involved? How did you get involved with Patriots of Act 746?
Well, basically, I was involved with the very first organized walk here in Fort Smith 4 years ago now. Constitutional carry-wise, I guess you could say it's been a long line in the family. I'm a direct descendant of someone who actually signed off on that Constitution.
Wow, really? On the Arkansas Constitution?
No, on the United States Constitution. He was
okay.
A relative of the state of North Carolina.
Oh, wow. That's yeah. You know, I can't claim that illustrious background, but my ancestors do. Go all the way back to North Carolina. It's fascinating to see where where we all came from and that sort of thing. So Wayne, how has, just real quick, I want to get into the specific topic that we're going to talk about today that is concerning Fort Smith and an arrest that was made, but specifically, have you been very pleased with the progress that's been made so far with the understanding of constitutional carry in Arkansas?
For the most part, yes. In the areas of the state that I have been in, there are a few, still a few troubled areas, all around, say, Forest City, Arkansas, just south of you over there in St. Francis County, maybe southeast Arkansas, but west Arkansas, north central Arkansas seem to be okay. I've been openly carrying for 4 years now, a lot of times just on my own with no issues at all.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I mean, and I think that's certainly is a testament to what State Representative Denny Altus did in getting Act 746 passed back in 2013. All right, so I want to I want to talk about a case that you brought to my attention because it happened this summer, back in August of 26. I'm reading an offense/arrest report. Okay, from I'm assuming this is a Fort Smith police officer. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
Okay. I'm going to read from the arrest report that I have in front of me. It goes like this. I was sitting at a red light at a country club in Old Greenwood Road. When the light turned green, I observed a silver Honda Accord traveling south on Old Greenwood Road. The vehicle continued through the intersection after the light changed to red. I got behind the vehicle and used my vehicle to confirm the speed to be 42 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. I made a traffic stop at Cliff Drive and Old Greenwood Road in the Ark Best parking lot. I made contact with the driver and identified him as blank. We're going to leave his name out. I observed he had red bloodshot eyes and an odor of an intoxicating substance coming from his breath. I asked where he was coming from, and he stated downtown. I asked if he had been drinking, and he stated that he had had about 9 drinks since 9 p.m. I had him exit the vehicle to perform standardized field sobriety tests. I had Mr. Blank perform the test and observed he failed. I placed him in the back of my unit. I asked if he had anything illegal in the vehicle. He stated he had a loaded firearm behind the passenger seat. I asked if he had a concealed to carry permit. He stated he did not have one. I found a black Rutger LCP 380 located hidden, and there's some typos here, hidden in the pouch behind the passenger seat. I found the magazine had 5 rounds in it with 1 in the chamber. I transported him to the Sebastian County Detention Center and gave a breath test. I got a result of .03. Mr. Blank was charged with carrying a weapon and disobeying a traffic control device. Now, Wayne, this is where I want you to kind of shed some light on this, because it's pretty, first of all, it's fascinating that this guy had 9 drinks and blew a .03, but he should have been. I mean, he was fine, right? He wasn't intoxicated, and yet they still charged him with carrying a weapon. What do you know about this case?
Well, basically, what I know about the case, a coworker of mine, probably 10 days after this event had happened, approached me at work. This happens to be his son. And he asked me some questions about it. I kind of explained Act 746 to him, that there had to be intent to employ that weapon, basically, and that it was legal to carry. Many of my coworkers know that I do when I'm away from work. I work in a gun-free zone, unfortunately, and I can't carry. But anyway, I explained to the father the act. In the meantime, the son had already hired him a lawyer to represent him in this. But basically what I had done a few days after I had learned of this, I basically walked into the Fort Smith Police Department unannounced with a report number asking to speak with the chief of police, who I had met at a function a few months ago when he was, our chief of police is fairly new to the community, coffee with the chief event, and during that event, I was openly carrying also. Anyway, I got to the police department, asked to see the chief, advised him that I had a report number, and I wanted some clarification as to why this young man was charged the way he was charged.
Okay, and what did the police chief say? What was his response? Did he entertain your questions?
Well, basically, I sit in the lobby for about 30 minutes, and I finally got called back to a meeting room just outside the chief's office. And I sit there for a few minutes, then a captain, I believe, over the patrol division, walked in the room, said he came up there to talk to me about this issue. And I advised him that I was under the impression that I'd be talking with the chief anyway. The conversation between me and the captain basically stated that if I had done the same thing that he was doing, that they would arrest me also. And I said, if you feel that way, go ahead and arrest me. You know, most of y'all know me. You see me around town carrying my weapon and so forth. And before we could really finish that conversation, the chief of police walked in along with, I believe, 3 other officers. So we kind of sit around the conference table, me staring at 4 or 5 of them across the table from me.
Wow. I think there's a reason the group's called the Patriots of Act 746. Okay, so we're talking about a Fort Smith case. To recap, if you're just joining us, there's a man in Fort Smith who was arrested on the charge of carrying a weapon illegally. He was in his car during a traffic stop where the officer said he failed the field sobriety test. He went to the station. He blew a .03, which is non-intoxicated, right? And I don't even think it's considered. I don't even think it's considered impaired. I think it's .08, but then there's like a .04. I believe there's like a secondary level where they can kind of say that, hey, maybe you're a little impaired or something. At least I talked to an attorney about that yesterday. And so they went ahead and charged him anyway. And it kind of to me sounds like it's like, well, man, this guy said he had 9 drinks, and he blew a .03. We got to charge him with something. And so they charged. So are the charges going forward? I mean, what's the status of the case right now, and what happened after that meeting?
Basically, after the meeting, during the meeting, I had advised him that I had also seen the dash cam video of the incident, and just watching that 2-mile drive down to from where he ran the light to where he got pulled over. He was not out of his lane. It's a downhill slope. Yes, most people kind of speed up a little bit on a downhill slope. Into the video I watched, well, most of us have seen the video, and you can see that the gentleman's head was perfectly still. It was not, moving and following, the pen, while he was doing the eye test. The gentleman was polite, answering his questions. I believe I don't believe the comment was ever actually made by the gentleman that he had 9 drinks. And In fact, the gentleman was actually the designated driver, and he may have had a drink. I don't know for sure,
Wow.
around 9 p.m. and then after that one.
So I mean, so are you suggesting there's a possibility that the officer in this report is just, maybe he misheard, or he's just not telling the truth? I mean, if the man says he never said he had 9 drinks, that's certainly a dispute.
I'm not really sure.
How do you have 9 drinks and blow a .03? 9 drinks from 9 p.m. to when this stops. I mean, good grief. That's a high tolerance.
That would be, 6 hours later. Also in the video, there was I want to say probably a civilian ride-along person with him. So, some of this, I feel like was possibly show for the civilian riding along with the officer that night.
Yeah. So I have an email here, and this email is, it seems to be that you eventually emailed the sergeant. Is that correct? Did you all eventually just exchange emails?
Basically, after the meeting, I had wanted some explanations as to why. After our meeting that lasted probably 45 minutes, they told me that they would get with both of the prosecutors and get back in touch with me. And evidently, they took a follow-up email about a week later to get this response that they failed to send me on that very same day once they had the email that you're looking at, or the response that you see there in front of you.
Okay. Now, we're putting the email up on our screen. And so it's they write, Mr. Helms, I sincerely apologize for the delayed response. It's been an extremely busy day. I also sincerely apologize for no one getting back to you on this. Immediately after our meeting, Sergeant Brooks, with professional standards, met with both prosecutors, John Settle and Dan Shue. Below is the email submitted with Sergeant Brooks' findings. Settle was already familiar with Officer Ritter's case and immediately replied that the charge would be null prost. Am I saying that right, Wayne?
I do believe that would be correct.
Or dropped. So null prost or dropped. The below statements will be reiterated to our officers. So that essentially means that the prosecutors came in and said there's no case here for a weapons charge, right?
That would be correct. You have to have intent to employ said weapon. There was no intent ever implied or acted upon it during this stop.
This is a good thing. I'm glad that we're talking about this, because people still need to be aware that there are officers out there in Fort Smith, and you said things are going pretty good in Northwest Arkansas, but there are officers out there who are still either, it's one of two things. They're not familiar with the way things are. They're not familiar with the statute and how to police that statute, or they disagree with it. I mean, which one is it? And is there, do you know of any maybe frustration on the law enforcement end, that they're frustrated with the prosecutors? Because this is not just happening in Fort Smith. It's happening in a lot of places. I know it's happened up in my neck of the woods, where somebody gets charged with possession of a weapon, and eventually the charge gets dropped because the prosecutors understand they can't prove what they need to prove in order to charge this person or convict this person.
Basically, Fort Smith police go, and I've had many conversations with them while openly carrying, even a photo op with a few officers here and there, to include the chief himself and several of his other officers that were also in that meeting that particular day. And for the most part, they're okay with it. This particular officer was fairly new.
Okay.
Less than 2 years with the Fort Smith PD, so he may have never actually seen the prosecutor's opinion from, dated 4 years ago.
Okay.
But, I don't know whether he did or he did not.
So it seems to me then that, I'm just kind of spitballing here. This is a big change in the statute, even though it's been around since July of 2013. It's a gradual process. Seems to me, if I'm the chief of police, and I'm sure there's some sort of orientation that new officers go through. There's got to be. And it seems to me, if I'm a chief of police or if I'm a county sheriff, if I get new deputies or whatever the case may be, this should be kind of at the top of the list. Oh, by the way, don't arrest anybody for carrying a weapon because this is what the law actually says. This may be different from where you worked in the past, or that, there's not a lot of constitutional carry states out there. I mean, you think something like that would be a good idea, and do you think some heads of law enforcement would be a fan of that?
Well, I'm sure, it was probably discussed at some point in time, but how much discussion was given to that point, I'm not really sure. Off the top of my head, I believe the officer involved, had actually worked for one of our university police departments, and we tend to know how the university police departments think about Act 746.
Yeah, that's that certainly is telling that you're certainly going to be, conditioned, predisposed to certain opinions if you've come from the university system. There's no doubt about that. I'm just saying there needs to be some. If I were a police chief, I'd want to do that just to avoid situations like this. You know what I mean? Just to avoid. We know what this is a big deal. Like, and as far as the Arkansas State Police is concerned, let me just bring them in here because I know, it's back and forth. What's the current status? I mean, they're not really. Are they still recognizing Act 7, or have they recognized Act 746 yet? Somebody on the page help me out if y'all are listening. What do you know, Wayne? They still haven't, right?
I don't think they have officially.
Yeah.
But back in 2013, I actually took a picture of a state trooper car as it was pulling away from me, just doing a roadside check in White County, just below Searcy, Arkansas. So, I've had firsthand experiences with state troopers out there on the road, county officials from various counties across the state. I've had no issues. In fact, at times, I kind of wanted to get arrested and could not do so.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get lucky enough.
Those people that know their rights. Those pesky people that know their rights. Well, I guess I just say, let's just take a moment here. So let's talk about the Arkansas State Police. I know we got to wrap things up. But one of their key missions, this whole idea of law enforcement is to protect and serve, right? That's what you hear. And the fact that we have had since 2013 such a significant change in our gun laws, and they are ignoring it, it really is a lot more than, we can give you the reasons why. But I just feel like with weapons, one of the basic functions of people in this state who carry weapons, right, for their protection and for the innocent protection if they can get there in time, to stop a crime or to save somebody, they're kind of they're kind of abdicating the chief reason they're around, not understanding or refusing to understand or promoting a willful ignorance to just not recognize a change in our gun laws that gives us more freedom. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's really never been against the law to openly carry a weapon or to carry a weapon, start with. There's been times for months at a time during the, say, trapping season. Back, several years ago when I lived in White County, I used to trap.
Mm-hmm.
It was common to see me walking about Ball Knob, Arkansas, of all places, with a weapon on my hip. Never was questioned. I've been basically carrying a weapon since my military days. I joined the military in 1975 at the ripe old age of 17,
mm-hmm.
and I've always had a weapon close by, and never had any issues. I never had a permit. Don't want a permit.
Well, what I think is that and I appreciate you correcting me there. You're right as far as what the Arkansas Constitution is. We talked with Dan Borum last week, who said, look, people have been conditioned to think that they've got to have this permission slip and everything else. And so I appreciate it, Wayne, for coming on the program. Gary on our Facebook page is writing that really all of the confusion with the Arkansas State Police and what they say lays at the governor's feet. He's exactly right. Asa could tell the Arkansas State Police to acknowledge whatever he wanted to, and they would do it. And he hasn't done that. I'm even told that Asa admits that we're a constitutional carry state in private, but he won't in public. So anyway, Wayne Helms from Patriots of Act 746, sir, that great Facebook page, I appreciate it and everything that you guys are doing, and I'd love to have you on again sometime.
Okay, and just a quick note. Basically, the charge was dismissed after my surprise visit with the police department.
That's awesome.
The day after I got the reply from them, he was able to pick up his weapon, and basically I said it was dismissed, so there is no record of this charge on there for this gentleman.
And that's all because you took an interest. Let's remind everybody, Wayne, you took an interest in your coworker's son, his circumstances, and you made things better by saying, hey, look, that's not what the law says. And so I want to publicly commend you for that. And I hope everybody listening in Fort Smith and the rest of the state of Arkansas understands, what a patriot you are, Wayne. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Paul.
All righty, folks, we got to take a break. Back in just a moment.
Do you